This is the Monolith from Gearxyz. It's a fairly simple 3D printed deck box, and yet a bit heftier than a similarly simple Ultimate Guard boulder. However, it has points for expansion on literally every side, top, bottom, you name it. So in this video, we'll ask the question, can a deck box be too modular? And to find out, we'll turn this deck box into a human centipede of gaming accessories. Welcome to Absolute Cardboard, and today we'll be taking a look at the Monolith Deck Box and the Metamorph Deck Box system from Gearxyz. This is the Monolith Deck Box, which is kind of the centerpiece of the whole Metamorph system, so we'll start here. It is a traditional cubic deck box with some unconventional features. On each side are these little grooves as well as these little stoppers on the top and bottom of the deck box. We'll get more into all you can use these for a bit later, but first and foremost, you can use these to house a top loader of your commander or favorite art piece or what have you. But one thing to note is that unlike other deck boxes with a top loader window or groove, this one doesn't necessarily look empty if you don't have a top loader with a card in there. Now, opening the box up, you will see a pretty spacious main compartment. At 75mm on each side, you're looking at a lot of space, like it nearly fits an entire boulder inside of it. Would I recommend jamming a boulder in there? Probably not, but it's 2025. Jam your boulder into whatever you want to jam it into. For some context, 75mm squared will hold 125 single-sleeved cards or 100 double-sleeved cards, with space on the side. Now that space on the side can hold 22 unsleeved cards, or 15 single-sleeved cards, or 12 double-sleeved cards, meaning you can fit a solid amount of tokens in that extra space. You may notice a little lip on opposite sides of the bottom, and those snap into the cutouts on the top of the deck box, which is the mechanism that locks the deck box closed. It's secure enough for random jostling, but if you turn it upside down and just kind of slam the bottom, the deck box will open. Which is not to say this deck box is not secure. We'll get more to that later, and I know I'm saying that a lot, but bear with me. There's a lot to this system. Now, you may have noticed this colored band, which is actually a point of customization. You can order from a wide variety of colors, and if you want to get an extra set of accent pieces, you can swap out some of the accents on this deck box. The top of the box matches whatever color scheme you ordered and has the Gearxyz logo in this indented circular imprint. This circular imprint is to house another piece that also happens to be color aligned, which is this life counter. The disc-based life counter will magnetize into the top of the box, and you'll have these little cutouts to pry the life counter out if you need to, but you can also just grab it by the turn knob as well. The life counter ranges from 1 to 40, so if you're looking at this as a solution for a commander deck, you may want to try and not have a deck that could gain 1 or more life. But for traditional formats, 40 is more than enough in general, and it's generally fine for commander unless you have a very specific life gain deck. The life counter itself uses this spring-like structure and these notches and grooves to hold the life counter dot in place. It's not the most secure thing, but it gets the job done well enough. The life marks and the numbers are raised on the disc and are kind of drawn on by the 3D printer. I'll have more to say about this particular aspect later, as there's another part of the system where a similar technique is utilized, and I may as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone of critique. So we've got the deck box, we've got the accent, we've got the life counter. While I have it out here, I'll just say that the exterior of this box is about 95mm on each side and about a total of 150mm tall without the life counter. And the reason I bring that up is because this thing is about to get a lot taller, because we are adding a dice tray to the bottom. And if you want, you can view this sort of as a near duplicate of the bottom of the deck box. Same accent piece, same stops and grooves on the sides, it's just a shorter version of it, like that Keanu Reeves or Joker meme. In fact, you can just attach the top of the deck box to the bottom half of the dice tray, and you end up with a friendly little cube. I have no idea why you would. Maybe you really just want short magic cards, or maybe you pine for the days where you had your companion cube at your side. The point is, I forget what the point is, but you generally want to keep dice in there or counters, since the main storage is going to hold most of your tokens, especially since this won't hold any card length type objects. For specifics, the dice tray shares the same 75mm interior length on each side, but it's only about 30mm deep. You got your deck box, you got your accent pieces, you've got your life counter, you've got your dice tray, and now we're going to get to my absolute favorite part, which is the dice tower extension. You can just set the box onto the side of the tower, just make sure the sliding lid is open, and it should go right on, leaving you with this hunk of melted plastic. When you get to the game table, slide the lid open, remove the deck box, then you can reattach the dice tray to the dice tower, and you will notice this opening on the side of the attachment. Drop a dice into the top, it tumbles down and ejects the dice from that opening on the side of the tray. And I love this. Absolutely. The top has this groove here that has 2 magnets embedded in it. The top lid, which is also color coordinated to the accent pieces, has just 1 magnet, but that means it will kind of soft stop at 2 different positions on the lid, either closed or just open enough to open the dice hole. The dice hole is big enough for most dice, even slightly larger dice, but not big enough for something like the bundle D20s. The actual drop in this dice tower is diagonal right about here, and then it has a bump every inch or so, and then it drops down about here, and has another diagonal with bumps, then finishes with this curve that aims the dice into the tray. How do I know what's inside this closed box? Well, I stuck my finger in and just kind of felt all around, which is ironically the same way that I found out I had colon cancer. And when I test a dice tower, I usually check for randomness, just to make sure the tumble mechanisms do provide a sufficiently random enough outcome, and they generally do. But I was really impressed with how few dice didn't land outside of the dice tray when I dropped them in. I would say maybe 2 out of 100 actually flew just directly outside of the tray. Sometimes when the tray was somewhat full, they would hit whatever's inside of it, bounce on that, and then bounce outside of the tray, but that's not really the tower's fault. I really can't say enough about this thing, but I love it. Like, seriously, find someone who looks at you the way I look at this dice tower attachment, or how the president looks at a Muslim socialist. So we got the deck box, the accent pieces, the life counter, the dice tray, and the dice tower attachment. And we are still not done, because this is a command zone. It has space for 3 D20s to mark commander damage, and it has a cutout for a D6 to mark commander tax. It has a groove right here to rest your commander in, and when you do, it actually doesn't stand straight up, it lays at a fairly low angle, which I think is actually better than just straight standing up since it's easier for more players to see. And the coolest part is that this will also fit onto the main box. You'll see there are instructions to slide up, and that's how it attaches. You want to lift this little center part, then just slide it up and it will latch onto the top with these little nubs. These nubs are perfectly shaped to accommodate the life counter, and remember how the top wasn't the most secure thing and your deck would go flying if you kind of banged it from the bottom? These nubs and the overhang from the dice tower itself will prevent the top from coming off, kind of no matter how hard you bang on it. Once you have either the dice tower or the command zone attached, the deck box becomes incredibly secure. And while we're taking a trip down memory lane, remember how I wanted to talk about the numbering on the life counter? Well, here's the lettering on the command zone. Now, just like the life counter, the command zone is totally legible, but it's not very pretty, which is frustrating because when you look at the top of the deck box, you see the Gearxyz lettering, and it's kind of pristine. It's really nice. Now, the life counter in the command zone may have just been bad 3D prints. 3D printing is not always perfect, and sometimes you get a little bit of variance on your results. And the life counter has the raised numbering, and the command zone has more sunken in wording, where the top of the deck box is actually smooth and solid. And I'm pretty sure this was actually used as the base on the 3D printing plate or mat or whatever. Now, look, I'm not a 3D printing expert, so I can't say what a better system would be to make symbols on the command zone or the life counter, but as it stands, everything else about this system is just so well designed that it's kind of a bummer that you could get the life counter or the command zone, and the lettering and numbering just looks kind of messy. Deck box, accent pieces, dice tower, life counter, dice tray, command zone, that's it. No, I'm just kidding, dork. For a bit of icing on a very solid cake so far, this also comes with a wall mount. Attach via these 2 drill holes to a wall, and you can mount this entire system on your wall, which is not like a huge thing, and I wouldn't say most people are going to be into it, but it's cool. If you happen to like that sort of thing, it's there. Or if you happen to have a YouTube channel and you need things to populate the background so people know you're actually invested in the hobby, then it's a nice bonus. They sell an additional pack of wall mounts where you can either get more drillable wall mounts or this version, which is for I believe it's the IKEA Skadis system, which is basically a pegboard system, and you've probably seen people holding, tools on them and stuff like that, and that's what these little pegs are for. Now, all this combined, that's what you get with the Monolith system, and it is a lot. You get the dice tower, the life counter, the command zone, the wall mount, the deck box, the dice trays, and the accent pieces. And if it's a bit too much for your need, there is also this, the Minilith. The Minilith is very similar to the base deck box in the Metamorph system, which is the Monolith. Except there are a few key differences. For example, there are no accent pieces, but it is two-toned and the top half of it is toned to the colors of the attachments you may choose. Additionally, it can't be set on top of a dice tray as there's no grooves or anything down there, and instead of all inward-facing grooves, it actually has opposite sides facing inward and opposite sides facing outward. Which means that if you want, you can actually attach a Minilith to a Monolith. The interior and exterior are the same measurements and hold the same amount of cards. The lid does have a magnet on it, so you can, if you want, set a life counter on there, though it doesn't have the circular recess that the Monolith has. And because you do need to make sure the grooves on the sides match up, since they're not all uniform like on the Monolith, you do kind of have to keep track of how you are putting the deck box back together after you get your cards out or whatnot. And I would generally only get this as a, let's say, expansion for the Metamorph system and the Monolith, not for a singular solo standing deck box. All the grooves and magnets and stuff are kind of overkill for a singular lonesome deck box, and in that case I would probably still just recommend something like a Boulder, but as a Side-Caddy to the Monolith, it's kind of cool. And then there are a few accessories that just kind of wrap the system all together. The first being this tube extension which holds a playmat. Let's see which one we have here. We have... oh yes, we have the feedback, as I like to call it, playmat that I got from Myth Adam. I'll have a link in the description below. Now, as a playmat holder, it's totally fine. It's just long enough to prevent accidentally falling out, but it's not going to fully protect the playmat, which I think is totally fine. It's a really cool addition and a clever add-on to the Metamorph system because, again, this can also be slided into the grooves on almost any of the other pieces. And you may be thinking to yourself that all this is going to be attached to each other, it's going to be pretty unwieldy, which is probably why Gearxyz made this caddy. This caddy has 4 outward-facing grooves that will attach to pretty much everything in this whole goddamn system, 2 on each side. Now, here I've got the Monolith, the Dice Tower, Minilith, another Minilith, and the playmat holder all attached to this caddy. This handle right here slides up, and you have a very surprisingly sturdy carrying solution. But the ultimate question is, who is this for? It's me. I think the Metamorph package with the deck box, the dice tray, the dice tower, the life counter command zone, it's a very good package. It's totally worth it considering everything that you get. Now, granted, you do need some excuse to need a dice tower, but I love my Mr. House deck, so that's an easy W for me. Or you need to be the type of person who's kind of ready to go all in on a system for your gaming. It's a little awkward to have this whole interconnected system and have it coincide with another system that you might already have, or even just like kind of your own bag setup already going. But I also think the Monolith package by itself is a pretty appealing package, considering everything you get with it and just how unique this is. And I do think there's something to be said for a system like this being unlike anything I've ever seen in 30-ish years of gaming. And stuff like that doesn't happen very often. This really is something special, and it's got just the right amount of modularness, which is all of the modularness. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this. If you want to help support the channel and keep me getting plastic gaming accessories like this, then you can always become a member here on YouTube or on Patreon for just $3 a month. And if this whole system was a bit too much for you, and I get it, it's a lot, you could check out this playlist where I review all sorts of 3D printed gaming accessories. So thank you very much for watching, and until next video, I'll see you around.